Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava ki Jaya. Wir haben Übersetzung, Tradition, wir haben recht. In English, yes. In English. Okay, so you're translating. No Spanish, okay. And the others don't need translation. Okay. So Hare Krishna, we're reading first before Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll read from Transcendental Diary of Harisori Prabhu. And as Maharaj was saying yesterday, and I have to confirm 108 times, that this is such an important book, actually, because it's also written as a diary. You know, there's no embellishments. This is also a good thing. If I speak too fast, just let me know.
Hey, are you listening?
If I speak too fast, let me know. So it is very important to read these books, particularly because they're written in the form of a diary. So there is no embellishments, no literary additions, which can be sometimes found in Prabhupada Lilamrita. It is accurate, but there's sometimes literary embellishments. And here there's nothing. This is what it is. Prabhu also comes from England, northern England, and these are people very straightforward. And this is, for me, I was a time for many, many years before the internet. I traveled with these first 3 books of this Harisori all the time. These 3 books I had, and 2 books Prabhupada Shikshamrita. No, 3 big books Prabhupada Shikshamrita. And I was reading this daily as my daily reading, because this is very important to know Prabhupada. Because besides, we have a duties in the Hare Krishna movement. Our duties are to, chant Hare Krishna, read Prabhupada's books, and ultimately go back to Godhead, and do some service in between. But part of this chanting, also, part of this thing is also preserving Prabhupada's movement. This is not different from chanting, actually. Because whoever says, I like Prabhupada, but ISKCON I don't like, or whatever, it's impossible, because Prabhupada this is his life. There's no other, Prabhupada did not have other life than ISKCON. Meaning that ISKCON is his work, as his preaching mission. Of course, not everything is wonderful, whatever, but the point is that this is Prabhupada's work, Prabhupada's heart, you can say, this ISKCON. So it's important to know what Prabhupada wanted, what was his desire, what was his, how did he act in certain situations, how did he speak. And it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna, how does a person who is transcendental, how does he walk, how does he speak, how does he, what else is there? Habla, camina. Okay, what does he, whatever, how do they conduct themselves in this world? So this is it. This is the explanation to this verse. How Prabhupada acted, how did he speak, how did he eat, how did he do anything. So it's very important to read it. We should not underestimate the power of reading. Also, because in this way we also will know Prabhupada better. I was recently speaking of the verse Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvataha Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mam Eti So Arjuna. The Krishna says, whoever knows me, my janma, my birth, my karma, my activities, they're divya, naturally, divine. Whoever understands this will never take birth in the material world. So we should also understand Prabhupada's janma and karma. Why did Srila Prabhupada, why have he been born? What kind of activities did he do? Jaya. So let us read a little bit about Prabhupada. Okay, you read about Lokanath Maharaj yesterday, Kirtan, Nita Gauradesh. Okay, so other devotees were also present. This is in Mayapur right now. We read yesterday how devotees were singing Hari Bol, and Prabhupada told them to stop. And he said, and there was this one, a letter, I think, a conversation that Prabhupada said to the devotees who were chanting Hari Bol, Gaur Nityananda Bol, Hari Bol, and the devotees were chanting on and on and on. And Prabhupada said, you chant Hari Bol and I will go back to Godhead. So meaning, Prabhupada did not approve too much of Hari Bol. He preferred to chant Hare Krishna mantra. This was yesterday. Maharaj was speaking about this. We spoke about Kirtan standards, how, what kind of standards. We spoke about Jadvaita Swami's book, and so on and so forth. So, we are going now further. Other devotees were also present in the garden as we talked. Charanara has discovered that his service as Prabhupada gardener gives him free access and the ability to be present there whenever Prabhupada is. Prabhupada doesn't mind at all. Another devotee was Swayambur Das, an Australian. And we were joined by Vipramukhya Das, one of the pujaris, who came seeking Prabhupada's blessings because he's setting out tomorrow to open center in...
Sorry, bro, do you mind to read slower?
Oh, sorry, because usually we have a book in Russian or German. Okay. So, this Charanaravinda was always following Prabhupada because he was a gardener. And somehow as a gardener, he always had access to Prabhupada, somehow or other. So he was very happy about this. And then another devotee joined, Swayambhu Das from Australia. And then the Pujari at that time was Vipramukhya Das. He was, he said he was seeking Prabhupada's blessing to open temple in Turkey at that time. So I thought that was very, I remember this, when this letter Prabhupada wrote to him. Vipramukhya Das, he was later became Swami, and he, after some time even, that was in 1996, 7 or so, he left, I think, our movement. But he did lots of nice service. He was actually involved with Bhaktivinoda Manor and with Danavir Maharaj. Danavir Maharaj was, not Danavir. I forgot the name of this Prabhu. He was bringing devotees from Soho Street and sending them by the train to Bhaktivinoda Manor. Bhakti Vipramukhya Swami was receiving them and training them further, shaving them up and training them further. Rohini. Yes, Rohini Nandan. Yes, Rohini Nandan. So this was there was actually, of course, I read about this because I'm interested in the history of ISKCON, and because it's not different for Prabhupada. There was a Bhakta program newsletter. and I read the very, very several newsletters, how many new Bhaktas joined, and Bhakta Joe did this, and Bhakta Jennifer, Bhakta whatever.
They had a point system.
Yeah.
The new Bhakta stayed two nights. Wow.
Yeah. And Prithu Prabhu was there competing, of course. The Germans were always competing. Prithu Prabhu was shaving people up. Prithu Prabhu's favorite techniques at that time, he told me, was that he would go to the park, where lots of hippies were there, and he would ride the bicycle, and he would see a guy, he would ride bicycle in him, in the person. And say, oh, I'm sorry, and they say, oh, and then that's how we start conversation. This was a bridge preaching with Prithu Prabhu. Use bicycles, bridge preaching. So, Vipramukhya Swami later on also did many nice services. He actually is, I think, one of the first devotees who started online preaching at that time when the internet was very crude and primitive, but he was the one who started first online things. Anyways, Hare Krishna, eternal service for him. But he wanted to open a temple in Turkey. We have no idea, even nowadays, it's very dangerous to open a temple in Turkey. What to speak of then? To open temple in openly Muslim country, to say Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, we are here. There was this famous story which I read and heard by Brahmananda Prabhu, who is also deceased, that he and Prabhupada, they were speaking, and his brother Gargamuni Swami at that time, both Swamis, they asked Prabhupada. Prabhupada says on the class, special mercy will get one who preaches in the dangerous countries, in Muslim countries. So him and his brother, they said, let's go to the dangerous preaching. So they went to Pakistan. When I was younger, I was also having notion I should go to the most dangerous country. I can risk my life somehow or other. It's kind of stupid. I want to go to Egypt. Luckily, my authorities didn't let me. I was ready. There was this devotee from Russia. Anybody from Russia? Old devotee? I forgot.
No.
Now no Russians when we need them. He started preaching. He was Muslim. He had a Muslim background. He had a PhD in religion from Moscow, and he started preaching in these countries. He went to Lebanon, I think, and then he went to Egypt. And I asked him to join him, and he was very fired up. And my authorities said, "Don't do it." So I didn't. But so brothers Gargamuni and Brahmananda thought, let's go to the most dangerous country, and Pakistan. And how did they go? In dhoti and sannyas dandas, saffron, shaved. I mean, this is not smart, you can say, but they're very courageous because Prabhupada, at that time, Prabhupada was everything, and Prabhupada will give them the ultimate protection. They didn't care. Devotees were fearless because of Prabhupada. Maharaj also told us that he put pair of cartels, he took sannyas, and Harikesh told you go to Argentina, and he said put pair of cartels in my pocket, and he went. There was no marriage, good friend.
Not exactly, but basically.
Basically, yeah. But this was the mood was of fearlessness. You don't care. You just go because, you know, Prabhupada is there to protect you. So what doesn't matter. So they went to Pakistan. I think they went to Karachi. I'm not sure where did they go. Islamabad. I think Karachi. And they started, you know, Hare Krishna in the middle of the square, you know. And of course, first thing what happened after 5 minutes, they got arrested, you know. You cannot just go to. I did once also. I was in India, also young Bhakta in 92 or 93, 92 I think, with one devotee Bhaktas, and I said I was in the mood of risking my life. So I said let's go to preach to the Muslims in India. So we went to New Delhi to the huge Muslim university, also in Dhotis, and we went there and in the middle of it, you know, all this Muslim university, and we just Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutala, and that was it. We didn't even finish. They surrounded us, maybe 20, 30 people. And they're like very angry. They said, get out of here before you get killed. We were like, oh my God. So they immediately called rickshaw for us and followed us until we left the campus. Anyway, so this is what happened to Brahmananda and Gargamuni. And what happened in the news, Pakistani news, there was a title, two Western Hare Krishna devotees got killed in Pakistan. You know, talking about misinformation. I've heard also that I died when I was devotees from Venezuela informed me. And the Prabhupada read this, and he was like, his two dear disciples and brothers, you know, this is like a huge loss. And then, but somehow after 2 days they released him from jail, and they let them go, and they went to India, and they went straight to Mumbai to greet Prabhupada, to tell him what happened, you know. So Prabhupada saw them. At that time, of course, there was no calling, you know, messaging, so they just arrived, and Prabhupada was so happy to see them. He embraced them, everything. And he was very happy that they're alive, you know. And then he said, because of this endeavor alone, you will go, I guarantee you'll go back to Godhead. This endeavor, just to go to Pakistan, few hours in Dhotis, is because of this, you will go back. So it's very nice, meaning Prabhupada was very pleased when devotees did something for him. Devotees risk, of course, we should not go, you know, drive 200 kilometers per hour to risk our life for Prabhupada, you know. If we don't do this, we don't do unnecessary risk, but we should risk something. Something has to be risked, meaning something that belonged to us should be given up for the sake of Prabhupada. A year ago I wrote in one article called "What is your interest?" You know, there's a philosophy of interest. Actually, there's such a branch, philosophy of interest, and it is said there that all of us we have two types of interests. One is personal interest, and one is interest which is imposed on us by the society. You know, like we dress because we cannot not dress. It's imposed on us. So our interests become one with the society interest. Or whatever, you know, we support football team, or whatever. It's imposed on us by the society. So the spiritual life also, we have our own interests, which is to eat, to sleep. These are some necessities. But also we have an imposed interest on us, which is Prabhupada's interests. So Prabhupada was so forceful and powerful in his preaching and conviction that he imposed on us that his interests became our interests. So devotees could risk their lives. Why would anybody from America go to Pakistan? What was the interest of Brahmananda and Gargamuni to go to Pakistan? No interest. But because they accepted Prabhupada's interest as their interest, therefore they went. So we as devotees, we should again learn what the Prabhupada interests are and try to minimize our interests, to these basic things, as Prabhupada says. Maintain body and soul together and engage in Prabhupada's interests. Because by engaging in Prabhupada's interests, it also benefits us, actually, much better than when we care for our own interests. So this is what these devotees were teaching us in those days. They are just fearless for Prabhupada, any country, anywhere. And Prabhupada was reciprocating immediately. There was another memory of Srila Prabhupada by Guru Kripa Das, at that time Swami. He told the story how he was very, very beginning of the movement. He just joined. He was Bhakta Greg. So he said he was always wondering how can I come closer to Prabhupada? Because at that time was even here we can see it's not easy to come close to Prabhupada. There are many devotees there, big sannyasis, GBCs, So you are not really access to that. This gardener was very happy they can have access to Prabhupada. So this Bhakta Greg was wondering, how can I come closer to Prabhupada? How can I somehow interact with Prabhupada? So he said, I was observing. So he was observing. I said, then I saw that whoever did something for Prabhupada, if somebody opened a center, Prabhupada was writing to them personally. So he thought, this is the key. I have to do something like this. So then he immediately went to India, and then he got together, I think, with this Yashodanandan, at that time Swami, I'm not sure, I don't remember original. And they went together to South India, and they opened centers, I think in Nellore, I don't know exactly. And he said, as soon as I opened a temple, Prabhupada started writing letters. So he said, I know, this is the key, to do something big for Prabhupada. So, meaning, for us also, if we want to, as Lord Brahma was shaking hands with Krishna, with Vishnu after the creation, we can also, shake hands with Prabhupada. If we actually do something for him, he will recognize that we exist. That does not mean that anybody who does anything less, it's not recognized. On the contrary, everybody is getting mercy for even most insignificant thing. But we should try to do better for Prabhupada. We spoke yesterday about making videos on YouTube and to get recognized, to get past the algorithm, to get recognized, because there are how many millions of videos daily than you, like millions of daily of videos. So how can they recognize your video? So this person who is very successful, he said, every day you try to make better video, better sound, better this, better editing. So this is a spiritual life. The key to success in spiritual life, try to do better, not to stagnate. How can I do better? How can I make better? How can I do something extraordinary for Prabhupada? To be I was always talking, there's this description of swan-like devotees, Hamsa. But I was thinking, actually all glories to the duck-like devotees too. The devotees were like ducks, Not a swan is majestic. You have a big preacher who comes, and preaches, and everybody's falling unconscious when they see him, Oh, he's a wonderful preacher. But there are duck-like devotees who are not attractive, who are not great preachers, not intelligent, but they are doing service. Year after year after year after year after year. So this is glorious. This is very, very glorious. Very, very glorious. So, this is what I want to say at the moment about Prabhupada Maharaj. Willst du was sagen? Okay, then let's read from Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtapriya Shabadeshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Today reading from 6th canto, 9th chapter, verse 50. Svayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Svayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Svayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Svayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Narati rogino patyam.
Narati rogino patyam.
Narati rogino patyam.
Narati rogino patyam.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Svayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Svayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Narati rogino patyam.
Narati rogino patyam.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Swayam nisheyasam vidvan.
Swayam nishreyasam vidvan.
Bhakti agyaya karmahi.
Navaktyagyaya karmahi.
Yati rogino patyam.
Narati rogino patyam.
Shatopi vishaktamaha.
Vanchatopi vishaktamaha. Swayam nishreyasam vidvan. Navaktyagyaya karmahi. Narati rogino patyam. Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Ladies.
Swayam nishreyasam vidvan. Navaktyagyaya karmahi. Narati rogino patyam. Vanchatopi vishaktamaha. Swayam nishreyasam vidvan. Navaktyagyaya karmahi. Narati rogino patyam. Vanchatopi vishaktamaha.
Svayam.
Swayam
Personally. Nishreyasam.
nishreyasam.
The supreme goal of life. Namely, the means of obtaining ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vitvan,
Vidvan.
one who is accomplished in devotional service. Na, not. Bhakti, teaches. Agyaya, unto a foolish person, not conversant with the ultimate goal of life. Karma, fruitive activities. He, indeed. Na, not. Rati, administers. Roginaha, unto the patient. Apatyam, something unconsumable. Vanchataha, desiring. Api, although. Vishaktamaha, an experienced physician. A pure devotee who is fully accomplished in the science of devotional service will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it. Purport. Here's the difference between the benedictions awarded by the demigods and those awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Devotees of the demigods ask for the benediction simply for sense gratification, and therefore they have been described in the Bhagavad Gita 7.20 as bereft of intelligence. Kamai stai hita jnana prapadyantyanta devataha tam niyama asthaya prakritya niyata svaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrenders unto the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations for worship according to their own nature. So let's just divide this purport into two. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Svayam Nishaya Samvidvan Navaktya Gyaya Karmahi Narati Rogino Patyam Vanchatopi Vishaktamaha. So first of all here, Prabhupada in the actual Sanskrit, Nishreyasam is translated as the supreme goal of life. And what is the supreme goal of life? The means of obtaining ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the supreme goal of life. The supreme goal of life according to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Different Sampradayas offer different actually goal of life. Different spiritual groups offer different goal of life. So our Sampradaya, we're offering not just liberation. Mostly in India, everybody's striving for moksha, liberation from material existence. But our Sampradaya offers something beyond moksha. And this is obtaining ecstatic love for Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya came as Vadanyavata, Mahavadanyavata, not just merciful, but Maha, the most merciful. Why? Not because he gives moksha, so many incarnations give moksha. Nrsimhadev, by his nails, gives moksha very easily. Zhik, zhik, zhik. You cut to pieces and you get moksha. Putana, Krishna sucked her breast milk and sucked her life, and she attained not only moksha, but she attained actually resonance in Goloka Vrindavan. So merciful. But here, Lord Chaitanya gives Krishna Prema Pradayate. He actually delivers Krishna Prema. This is most amazing. Not only liberation from material existence, Sarupya, Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya, but actually even Krishna Prema, which is amazing. We read every morning, Krishna Prema, But actually, this is an amazing gift. This is as Prabhupada's first temple is called matchless gift. There's nothing cannot match this gift as Krishna Prema. So devotee, pure devotee, is said, who is fully accomplished in the science of devotional service, meaning devotee who understands what is devotional service, will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities. And Prabhupada, there's a Sanskrit word for this person who is foolish, not conversant with the ultimate goal of life, is agyaya, means one who does not have knowledge. Because ultimately this is knowledge. Knowledge is to know Krishna. Knowledge is to know how to become devotee and how to actually obtain, as it says here, Krishna. Obtain this love of Krishna. So this is the actual knowledge. So, and the person who is agyaya, they don't have this knowledge. They may be materially estimated, very, very intelligent, much more intelligent than us, but they don't have their actual knowledge. No knowledge of Krishna. Some time ago, I was researching a little bit Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I came out that there's some professor who wrote actually, purported to Chaitanya Charitamrita, professor in university. And I was reading this a little bit and I was thinking, he has no, he has, of course, he knows what the Goswamis and Lord Chaitanya, but he doesn't have a knowledge of Krishna. He does not understand Lord Chaitanya. And to understand Lord Chaitanya, we have to surrender to Lord Chaitanya. We have to apply his process. Lord Chaitanya himself said, I came to distribute this love of Krishna. I opened the storehouse, but there's nobody to take it. Who is there? Anybody who wants to take it? It's free. Take it. And people are just not interested. So we have to take this, what Lord Chaitanya offered from when he opened the door. Storehouse, as they call it. Storehouse of love of God. Because this storehouse of love of God, the more it's taken, the more it's filled. So there is no lack. So we should just take this and try to not become, not to be anymore agyaya, a foolish person. Because we may have theoretical knowledge, jnana, but we have to have a realization of this knowledge, which is called vijnana. You have to understand Krishna consciousness. Why am I doing? What am I doing? And then when we understand, then we'll do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Shanai Shanai Upadayat. This is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, saying that step by step, one can ultimately reach the final destination. So, devotee, a pure devotee, who is accomplished in the science of devotional service, will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment. Not to speak of helping him in such activities. Why? Because the second sentence says, devotee is like an experienced physician. Experienced physician, when they see you, they say, stop eating this, or stop drinking, or stop doing this and this and that. He immediately sees it. You know, as once one devotee was joking, this was many years ago, went to a doctor, Ayurvedic doctor, the doctor was looking at his throat and he said, when I look at the throat of your Hare Krishna devotees, what do I see? Sugar and ghee. Filled with sugar and ghee. You know. It's not necessarily healthy. Of course, ghee may be, but I don't know. What do I see? Sugar and ghee. So expert physician said, stop eating sugar immediately. Because expert physician will not tell you, yeah, sugar, yeah, I cannot stop it, oh, I can just eat. No, the doctor will say, no, don't do it. Because the physician never encourages a patient to eat food which is injurious to his health, even if the patient desires. So meaning, the physician knows, this is not good for you, don't do it. So when we preach Krishna consciousness, we present ourselves, and we spoke also yesterday about the bridge preaching, you know. I mean, we call it bridge preaching in a negative terms, many use, you know, bridge preaching. But actually, everybody did bridge preaching. You know.
Say that again?
Bridge preaching. Bridge.
Predica puente.
Predica puente.
Lo que hace Krishna West. Predica puente.
Not direct. You know, when we meet somebody and then we say, how are you doing? And somebody asks you, and also when I travel in America, we travel in devotees and people say, oh, you guys Buddhist? And we say, yeah, something like that. We are, you know, kind of. Because people, I want to test. Shishi, I wanted to test, and one very young lady, she seemed to be smart. And she said, are you, and I said, I showed her this, and she said, oh, I know, I'm familiar with this, I'm a Buddhist. And I asked her, are you a Theravada Buddhist, or you are whatever the second Buddhist? And she had no idea. This is like you don't know, you know, basic things, if you know. Like this is like the most basic thing that Buddhism, there's two types of Buddhists. So I realized she has no idea about anything, but people say this, oh, I'm a Buddhist. So then we just talk, people ask, are you Buddhist? Yeah, something like this, because it doesn't matter. And then we give people a book, you know, and people say, oh, okay, so they don't know what is Buddhism. So meaning, we don't say directly, as Maharaj was saying yesterday, oh, Buddhism, they don't believe, they are astikya. No, they are nastika, we are the astikas. Nastika means those who don't believe in the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're deities, they are we recite philosophically what is Nastika. No, just it's something like this. So this is called bridge. So the doctor, expert preacher, he sees this person is actually, this is not good for you, what you're doing in the material world. So therefore, I am putting some endeavor so I can somehow or other bring you close to Krishna. We were just, a few days ago, we were in Schweinfurt. We had a program in Schweinfurt. There's no temple, but there's some few devotees, and they invite some friends, and we had some nice program actually. And so there were some new people. And how did they come? From, especially the Russian speaking, through the Audarya Prabhu, Torsunov. You know. And they said, one lady said, I was interested in Beziehung, in relationship, because this Prabhu she's from Russia, and he's a very quite famous speaker on Ayurveda and health from the Indian point of view. And he spoke about relationships. And she said, I was very interested to hear about relationship, you know, with my husband or whatever. And she said, and then 1 year later, I was in Harinam, standing, and I was wondering, what happened to me? I came to read about relationship and I ended up going to Harinam. And then she took back and she realized this was just somehow, by mystical ways, she was involved in the Hare Krishna movement. She was reading about this, listening to lectures, and slowly he was speaking, yes, but the Vedas are important, and then somehow he mentioned Bhagavatam, and somehow he mentions the Hare Krishna mantra, and she started chanting, and she ended up going on Harinam devotees. And she said, now she's ready for initiation, she's preparing, doing Bhakti, whatever Bhakti course. So, we do all these things to tell people this is not good for you. This is the purpose of a preacher, to actually explain people, no, this is actually not good for you, not the best for you. And this is the first, this is the verse. The purport in Prabhupada says a very interesting thing. This is for devotees basically. Here's the difference between the benedictions awarded by the demigods and those awarded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Devotees of the demigods ask for the benediction simply for sense gratification. So the devotees of demigods, they want something material. So we are not devotees of the demigods, the Hare Krishna movement. But if we desire something material from Krishna, this is not much of a difference. Instead of demigods, we ask Krishna for the material benefits. And this cannot lead us back to God. This actually leads us to the heavenly planets. Again, we don't have anything against heavenly planets. It's probably nice, much nicer place than here. But this is not the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. This is not the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's coming, or the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, to actually go to heavenly planets. So we should always examine ourselves, especially nowadays, you know, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness becomes so big, and most of the devotees, they live outside. The very few devotees live in temples. And even those who live in temples, they're not as, you know, how do you say, as we call it, surrendered in ISKCON. You know, ready to jump into the fire for Krishna. Those are maybe a little, for the older generations, we went on snow 12 hours. One devotee sent me a letter and sent some pictures from New York, and said, you remember New York 2001? She said, he said, you gave us a pep talk. There's a pep talk, meaning inspiring, where we are coming with the van. We came with 8 Sankirtan devotees. And then I said, apparently I don't remember, that this is New York, the most, you know, materialistic city in the world. So to conquer this materialistic city, we have to do something extraordinary. So we went on book distribution 8 to 10 hours a day for 1 week. And second week we went to Harinam 8 to 10 hours a day. The next week we had book distribution 8 to 10 hours a day. I mean, this is heavy. I don't think you can find nowadays some of people who do this. Bhakti rule, maybe he would probably do this 8 to 10 hours of Sacinandana a day. Vilamrita. She does 12 hours, Vilamrita does 12 hours a day, exactly. So, meaning that the movement is expanded and we have many people who live outside, and which is natural, of course, with many people, and if you want to cover the whole world, we somehow have to also find these people who would not live in the temple. But these people who are not living in the temple, they have to make sure that they always examine themselves. Am I practicing Bhakti or pure devotional service, or am I practicing mixed devotional service? Karma Mishra Bhakti, as here it is explained. This verse, Kamai Stai Starkirta Jnana, Prapadyan Dhyanya Devata, those whose minds are distorted by material desires, surrender unto demigods. So, distorted by material desires. Our relationship with Krishna, our service to Krishna should not be distorted by the material desires. So, again, the preaching should be like this. Prabhupada was speaking like this. Prabhupada never encouraged people to chant 4 rounds or 2 rounds. Prabhupada said 16 rounds, not less, for the initiates. On the other hand, Prabhupada was very merciful. Lord Chaitanya was extremely merciful. So meaning that nobody will be rejected if we are failure. But the ideals should not be melted down. Ideal is, to go back to Godhead. This is the ideal. Surrender unto Krishna. There was this song in the 90s by Krishna Prema. He's saying, and then just put this Prabhupada voice, and Prabhupada said, fully surrender to Krishna. And then again, and then fully surrender to Krishna. So this is it. Fully surrender to Krishna. This is the message of our Sampradaya. Because if we don't fully surrender to Krishna, how can we go back to God? That means that we'll have some other desires. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita but it says, I thought it was very interesting, that spiritual world also has earth, water, fire, air, because we know even the gopis, for example, are expert astrologer. Vishaka, I think, I'm not sure. She's an expert astrologer. So how can be astrology in Goloka Dham? But the explanation here is that the earth, water, fire, air, and ether of Vaikuntha are all spiritual. This is the difference. Material elements are not found there. This is a very significant verse. Because it's explained that as long as we have traces of the material energy in us, or material desires, it will be very difficult to actually enter this place, because this place, there's no room for anything like this. There's no place. Everything is spiritual, earth, water, fire. Material elements are not found there. So again, that does not mean that if you're not perfectly pure devotee, 100%, that we will not go back to Godhead. Endeavor is what counts. I heard recently, I don't know where, reading or listening, Prabhupada memories, that Prabhupada was giving a lecture in Atlanta, and he was speaking of fully surrender to Krishna. Fully, 100% surrender to Krishna. And the more he spoke, the devotees were more and more looking at the ground, because 100%. And Prabhupada was looking at the devotees and continue, 100% surrender to Krishna. And then he was looking, the devotees would become more and more. So they finished the lecture, Prabhupada stood up, walking, and he stopped and looked at the devotees and said, 70%. He walked away. So, 70%, we have a concession from Srila Prabhupada. But we have to show endeavor. It's not like, Prabhupada said, it's alright, I can just drink a beer here and there. It's 70%. No, we should show our endeavor, our full energy. And then, maybe, if you are free, if you are qualified, we will be able to go back together. For the end, I want to read one letter of Srila Prabhupada. to Jayananda. This is the famous letter. Jayananda is the devotee we put on Rath Yatra card all over the world. He's the first, how do you say, Rath Yatri, or the Prabhupada said first saint in ISKCON. So this is the letter. And at that time, Jayananda was, I think, 30 something years. He was the oldest devotee in the movement, 30 years old. And he had some kind of disease, terminal disease, and he was dying. So everybody Prabhupada got this news that he's dying. So Prabhupada wrote a letter to him just before he died. Left the body, as we call it. My dear Jayananda, please accept my blessings. I am feeling very intensely your separation. In 1967, you joined me in San Francisco. I think this is, what year is this? I don't know what year. I think this is 75. Huh? 75. Anyway, so Prabhupada explains how he was driving him, his Prabhupada, and he was chanting Hare Krishna, and he was the first to give Prabhupada $5,000 for printing Bhagavad Gita. So he said he did lots of service for me, basically. So then, Prabhupada says this, I hope at the time of your death, you are remembering Krishna. And as such, you have been promoted to the eternal association of Krishna. So this is it. You do service, you remember Krishna at the end, and we'll go back to God. I did this 7-day seminar in Simachalam, meditating on the form of the Lord, based on Srimad Bhagavatam. And there was a conclusion that if someone is thinking of the form of the Lord, a particular form, you will actually be transferred to serve this Lord. So it's very good to remember the form of the Lord. So therefore it's good to see Krishna dressed nicely, you remember the dress, you remember how Krishna is smiling, or Lord Chaitanya, or Nityananda. And this, the Prabhupada says in one purport in teachings of Lord Kapila, that the difference between the yogis and those who are not so advanced is that when the devotees who are not so advanced, they come to the temple, they see the Lord, which means there's no difference between seeing the deity and seeing the Lord himself. No difference, Prabhupada says. But when devotees leave the temple and go home, they think about something else. But perfect yogis, they always think of Krishna constantly, 24 hours. So they don't need to, spend in the temple 24 hours in the temple. So the point here, and then he said that those who actually constantly think of the Lord, whenever they are ready, whenever there's an opportunity to die, they are ready to go back to God. They will. So Prabhupada says here, if you think of Krishna at the time of your death, you will be promoted to the eternal association of Krishna. First. Second, if you're not thinking of Krishna, if you have any tinge of material desires, you have gone to the celestial kingdom, the heavenly planets, to live with the demigods for many thousands of years and enjoy the most opulent life of material existence. Imagine. So one should be, as they said, one should be careful with one's desire. Especially devotees who do lots of service, many years of service. If we desire material gratification, we won't get it. And imagine you're born in the heavenly planets as a king, because so much pious activities is done. If you practice Krishna consciousness, service for Krishna, circumambulating Tulsi, fastings on Ekadashi, chanting Hare Krishna, all these amazing things, celebrating Janmashtami and other festivals. So people who do this, they will enjoy many thousands of years the opulent life of material existence. Not bad. And from there, from the heavenly planets, you can promote yourself to the spiritual world. So enjoy life, and then from there you go further. It's pretty nice, nice thing. But even if one fails to promote himself to the spiritual world, at the time he comes down again to this planet Earth and take a birth in a big family like yogis or brahmanas or an aristocratic family, where there's again chance of reviving Krishna consciousness. We have several devotees who came from very, very wealthy families. Famous Ambarish Prabhu. Prabhupada called him Ambarish because he was come from very opulent family, Ford family. This is like a very rich dynasty. So this is what Prabhupada said. So basically, there is no loss, you know. Either you go back to Godhead, if you cannot, if you have material desires, you go to heavenly planets, enjoy there, and from there go back to Godhead. But if you cannot go from there, then you will come back again to this earth, and you will be born in an aristocratic family or a Brahmana family. Basically, everything good is awaiting you. But, Prabhupada says, at the end, as you are hearing Krishna Kirtan, I'm sure you are directly promoted to Krishna Loka. And Prabhupada quote this verse, Janma karma chame divyam evam yaveti tattvatah tattva degam punarjanma naiti maham eti. So Arjuna, Krishna has done a great favor to you, not to continue your diseased body, and has given you a suitable place for your service. Thank you very much. So, this is what it is. We should, basically, whatever we do for Krishna, it's a huge benefit. And we can just, it's up to us really, where we go next. We cannot blame anybody or say my bad luck or, you know, my bad karma or whatever. It's our own desires, actually. Everybody can remember Krishna, it's free. You know, and you don't need to be smart or you need to be a scholar to remember Krishna. You can just see the form of Krishna. And then we can go back to God. Even if we don't, then we can do some other things. And again, our Sampradaya's goal is to encourage people to go back to God, and not only go back to God, but prema pumarta mahan, to actually achieve pure love for Krishna, the ultimate goal of life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada. Maharaj, would you like to say something?
Jayananda received a letter. Actually, Prabhupada wrote a letter to Jayananda after he left his body.
Oh, okay.
And opened it. And he just, I think I have it on the computer. And he says, well, if you remember Krishna at the time of death, you went to Krishna. If not, you must have gone to the heavenly.
Yes, it's because I was wondering why is he writing the past tense.
I quoted that 7 times because often we hear that such and such devotee left his body and he went back to Godhead.
Yes.
And I always quote this. Prabhupada was actually saying, well, if, you know,
Yes.
if you remember Krishna, you go back to Godhead. But if not, so he left the option open.
Yes.
He actually didn't go there.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Any questions? Preguntas? ¿Algo pregunta?
Él habla español.
Nah, I forgot my Spanish. Okay, then. Yes, Prabhu.
El desafío para ocuparse 100%.
Oh, this is too fast to me. I have not heard Spanish a long time. Okay, if you...
¿El desafío?
Para ocuparse 100%, pero para él.
Ah. Diga la pregunta, por favor.
Sí, la fórmula es que la mayoría de los devotos son miembros de congregación.
Yeah.
Entonces es muy complicada la vida que tienen.
Sí.
Antes era rendirse, entregarse y dejar todo. Entonces ahí es el desafío para los devotos.
So the challenge that the devotees have is that now they are part of some congregational groups. So before it was you just surrender, but now they are part of different groups.
Surrender in the temple.
Yes. Temple is just a building, you know. But so that means that we have to reach out to these devotees and inspire them to surrender to Krishna. And surrendering to Krishna, you can do in different ways, you know. Meaning, again, surrender to Krishna in our case means surrendering to the mission. And everybody can do something for the mission. Everybody can do something for the mission. When you have, Govardhan Puja in Srimad Bhagavatam, what happened or for example with Madhavendra Puri, these were not temple devotees. They had a deity, Gopal, in the center. He was actually on the top of the hill. And all the villages, they're not temple devotees, but he inspired them as a preacher, as a pure devotee. He inspired congregation to do something for Krishna. So they all cooked and they brought all this food to Gopal and they did all this. So this is how it is. We have to reach out to these people, keep in touch, as they call it. How do they call it nowadays? Follow up. But actually we just have to inspire the just like, before the sannyasis comes to temple and he gives lecture and everybody's inspired and go out and sannyasi said book distribution and everybody goes out and book distribution. But nowadays you have to inspire the devotees in different ways. So, okay, you have to Prabhupada says the managers have to invent or how do you say, pose a fresh challenge to the devotees. So managers have to think about how can we involve all these people in preaching mission. For example, I've not been, but I've heard, Navina Nirada Prabhu told me, that in Vaisheshika Prabhu in Southern California, they invite all, there are all these Indians there. They come, so he just doesn't take donation from them and Haribo, go home. He involves them. They have a table, so once a month or whatever, they call it weekend warriors, or once a week. So all these people come out, and children, and everybody distribute books. So they have all kinds of, like this, we have to think, how do we involve these people? Everybody can do something for Krishna. They just have to be inspired enough by our own, example, and our own purity, and we have to gain the trust of people. Prabhupada was, there was no doubt in Prabhupada's purity or Prabhupada's, genuineness.
Pero ¿por qué le está hablando que se necesita un grupo misionero que 8? Que 9 horas al día una cosa, 9 horas... Eso es muy difícil de encontrarlo.
For example, you were talking about some preachers that were engaged 8-10 hours a day, but now it's difficult to find them.
Por lo menos en Latinoamérica, los jóvenes no vienen con esa cultura de contracultura que venían antes.
I know, here also it's not like different. I know, here also it's not like South America is. Young people are young people the same. Nowadays there's no difference. Any country, really.
Muy blando.
Yeah, no. Every country is the same. Kids are not. What's happening?
No, que ella juega, pero ella sí se rinde.
The kids are not. We had the one bhakta here some 2-3 years ago. There was one bhakta, and he told me, because I told him something, you have to do this, and he said, no, I don't need to, But he was not like, offensive. He just said it, He said, I learned. I said, you have to learn that, there's authorities. And he said, I learned when I was growing up that I always get what I want. And he said, my father tells me no. And I said, okay, I go to a grandmother. And my grandmother gives money. If grandmother doesn't say no, he goes to an uncle. He said, I never accepted no, I don't care. If father says no, parent says, you cannot buy a bicycle. And he said, okay, then he goes to grandmother, and grandmother buys bicycle. So they don't learn to do austerities of any kind. Especially with the media. Latest I've heard also, I talked to one devotee, and he said, the best YouTubers, their shots change every 2 to 3 seconds. This angle, and he speaks from this angle, because people cannot tolerate to listen, to watch it 5 minutes, this is too much for them. So again, I think this is on me. I want to, from this summer on, embark to revive I think there are people who would be surrendering to Krishna as in the old days. We just have to sift more people. You know sifting? Sift. When you put a flour, harina, and then you do this. So we have to sift more people than ever before. Before Sunday feast, we had the one Sunday feast and 3 people joined, you know.
Yeah.
Nowadays we have the 30 Sunday feasts, so one person can maybe.
Every time we had the Vatsa Yatra, so many people joined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times our book distributors, they go out on book distribution and they bring almost every day somebody back to the temple. Almost every day. And out of these like 10 guys, one joined. You know, so it's like, I don't say it was easier. So we just have to do more endeavor. Prabhupada says more blood. Bhakti Siddhanta wants to shed gallons of blood. Meaning more endeavor.
And there are still people.
Sorry?
There are still people who want to become devotees.
There are.
They just don't know. You know?
They just don't know.
That we exist.
Yeah. Like for example, you see, I follow a little bit of a politics in Germany. You know, or in America I follow, but in Germany. And nowadays there's one party called AfD, Alternative for Deutschland. And many young people are interested in this. You know, it's a little bit on the right. It's very much on the right. But young people, I think there are many young people who are not, who are fed up with this culture. You know, say 90% of people are not fed up, but 10% are fed up. But actually, if you actually even see the American politics, it's 50-50. 50% of people are fed up with this new age and wokeism and all this sense gratification. No, they want to tradition. They want to families. You know, in England there's a movement of the women who sit at home, iron clothes, and cook lunch for husbands, and they don't want to work. And everybody's like offending that this is the most horrible thing. And BBC article, they want to go to the middle age or whatever, you know. And woman just wants to stay home, care for the husband, which is a normal thing. So there are people, we just have to find them. And at the same time, we have to basically expand ourselves into 2. One is to speak to the congregation, inspire congregation, because if you distribute books, you know, 5 brahmacharis can distribute 150 books a day, whatever. But if you inspire a congregation of 3,000 to each of them buy 2 books or 3 books, this is much more books. For example, you know, or cooking courses or whatever, you know, festival. Doesn't need to be always official Janmashtami. We can create our own preaching events. So it's a matter of the leaders, of the preacher, how to tax the brain. How can I do this? How do I do this?
Eso es lo que estamos haciendo, ocupar a la congregación en la distribución de libros.
This is what we are doing with our congregation, trying to occupy them in.
Ahí está empezando a haber muy buenos resultados y va a crecer tanto que va a superar a los
Yeah.
Good results are starting to come.
Yes, slowly. Shana. But not only books, they can do all kinds of things. Congregation, they have money. They are more qualified than the brahmacharis. The grihasthas who live outside. They have cars. They have connections. You know, whatever. They're somebody who's a politician. They can involve some, you know, something, or you know, there's. In reality, grihasthas actually are more qualified to preach than brahmacharis because they know matter. You know.
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
You occupied the congregation,
Yes.
obliged the householders to do some service in the temple.
Yes.
And take care of the devotees who live in the temple like that.
Yes. I was once in I opened one temple once in America, and I was alone, you know, and I was like no furniture. I was alone, sleeping on the ground, and I was thinking that because there was some dispute among the congregation, and so they split into 2 different parts, and they closed the temple, and I was sent to reopen the temple. And so nobody wanted to, there was around 100 devotees in congregation, nobody wanted to do anything with this temple or this and that. So they closed the temple. So I was sent, I reopened the temple again. I rented another place. And I was thinking, how can, I did Sunday feast, first Sunday feast, just me. So I said, how can I do this, So then I was thinking, okay, I will just try to explain to them that this is not my movement, it is your movement. So this was the big revelation to me. Because sometimes they think the temple is the movement and these other people are just observers of the movement. No, it is your movement. It is your movement, So I told them, this temple is not my temple, I'm just here. I said, I'm staying here 6 months. If I fail, we close it again. But it's your movement, you're losing it, So every Sunday feast. So slowly I got one person to come and 10. Then brought some new people. And then, but every lecture was about the service, This movement is about the service. So and slowly, and after like 2-3 months, I had all 100 people came, they united again, and this and that. And they did everything. And I told them, I'm not going to do anything in this temple because it's not my temple, it's your temple. I'm just going to sit here and chant. That was a little bit extreme, but and they did, they clean, they wash, they pay the bills, they do everything, books keeping. And I'm just standing there to say, oh, very nice, very nice. Because this is the duty of a preacher, to inspire people. Madhavendra Puri did not cook himself, he actually inspired people to cook, inspired people to chant. Hare Krishna. The preacher, as Maharaj said yesterday, the GBC duty is to be a watchdog of the society. This is a little bit heavy word, watchdog, but actually this is what we as preachers supposed to do. We inspire people. Oh, really? This is good. Are you chanting Nitya Gaur Radha Shyam? No, this is not the best mantra. Hare Krishna mantra is better. But we inspire people and correct them and guide them, and they feel comfortable. Okay, I trust this person. I will do something for this person. It's just some Hare Krishna. It's 9 o'clock. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya.